So if you look at it, that thing's wrong. From there, the tap is reinforcing that, and then the command is re-giving him the information of what he should be doing.
But there is like a 1/1000 between no and the tap.
Yeah, so it's like no, tap, come, right? And kind of that general cadence. And let's say I tell him no, and before I tap and before I say come, he fixes himself, we're still gonna follow through with all of those steps, right?
Okay.
And the reason for that is because I always say the goal is not that we say no and he changes his behavior. The goal is that we don't have to say no in the first place because he stops making the mistake, right? So we don't want no to become like a command, right? Or like a warning, right? We want it to just completely stop the behavior.
Okay. Yeah, just because I didn't want to like put a command to it too. Like
Sure.
when I'm walking and he gets out in front of me, like I've been going like
Sure.
and like I've noticed like sometimes I'll do the without giving him the click.
Yeah.
It will stop.
Yeah.
But
It's the same concept.
Like,
Yeah.
It's a warning. It's
Yes.
not really.
You'll get stuck on like needing to say every 4 seconds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna start adding in the same deal, the no, the tap, and the come there as well. And in a minute, we'll take him outside. We'll do a little walking with him so we can see that.
And I was just
Come.
gonna ask too, because like when you're walking, like, and he's a little bit in front of you, but you say come, does that make sense? Because he's not like away from me.
It does, yeah. So if you look at the come command, and this will make more sense as we actually go to teach it, the come command, no, come. The come command is not necessarily the act of him like being far from me and then moving to me. The come command is the positioning of being next to me. You know what I mean?
So you use that instead of heel?
Yeah. So it's our universal come to me and to stay with me. So I could use it whether the dog's 100 yards away or 2 feet away. You know what I mean? And it still means the exact same thing.
You don't use heel at all?
No, yeah. Come is our universal both. There's just no need to have 2 separate commands for it, right? 74 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of going off how he's responding to it. Like half the time when I'm doing this, I don't really even look at the number because I want to just gauge his response.
Because
right?
I heard him yelp a little.
Yeah, he let out a little yip right there, obviously. And that's just because we're in a lot higher of distractions, obviously. So we got to refocus him back in. And then as he refocuses in, you'll see that level start to then decrease. So what I try to do is after that initial conditioning stage like we did last time, where we know now he understands what this sensation is, what I try to do is every single time I use it, I kind of ask myself, did it seem like he cared too much about it or not enough about it?
Right.
And then I make little adjustments up or down almost every single time.
Okay. Yeah, because what I will say is like, I know he notices it like on a 10.
Yeah.
Because I can see his head turn a little bit too.
Yeah. But is he motivated by it is the question,
Because then like, I still have to end up like hitting him with it.
Yep, no.
You know. Every 10, 15 seconds.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's defeating the purpose of it, right? A correction the dog should learn how to avoid.
Yeah.
So as I'm giving these corrections, I want to start to see that after just a couple of them, once he understands what it is we're working on, that he just maintains position on his own.
Yep.
Which he's doing great right now because we've given less corrections but more motivating corrections. And this is kind of where you start to see everything really come together.
So I'm assuming since that first one that you gave him where he yelped, I haven't really.
I think I needed to use it one more time just a minute ago.
Okay.
But he's been pretty good. And we're down a little bit more now. We're at about a 65 now.
Okay.
And I would assume that number will continue to decrease as we go.
Okay.
But he's doing great. Like I said, this is the goal. Is we want to be able to go for our walk and have him just match our pace and us not need to nag him and stuff, you know?
So like, how do you feel about like, so he's still like slightly in front of you?
Yeah.
But like, so if you're trying to make a right hand turn, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, is that like, do you care about that, or are you kind of just like?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So long term I do, right? So like long term, yeah, I would want to tighten that up. And if I need to make a turn, you know, I want him to kind of heat out of my way a little bit.
Yeah.
But right now, if you look at like this bubble we're creating and we look at our leash walking, it's much more about attention than a rigid position, right? And he's maintaining good attention. You know what I mean? Like if I slow down, like he's, for the most part, slowing down with me. If I stop, he's stopping with me, stuff like that. So I want him to just get comfortable doing that for a little bit before I start tightening this bubble up too much more. I think a lot of people kind of go the opposite way where they start off and they're way too rigid with the dog. And it's like an unrealistic expectation for them to maintain, you know what I mean? And then they never figure it out, and you're constantly just like correcting the dog and thinking they're blowing you off, but they can't figure it out, you know?
Which was definitely, you know, a mistake on my part when he was a puppy and I started taking him on walks. I like looked for perfection right away, essentially, and then I ended up just correcting him the whole time.
Yeah.
You know? So hindsight, I would.
Come.
I would give more leniency.
Yeah. And again, like, you know, like now he's slowing down really good with me, but that last time when I was kind of demoing it, he was a little slower with it. So those things I want to see tighten up more, and that will help with, like, if I slow down, he slow down that much, I could make a right-hand turn pretty easily. You know what I mean?
Right.
But initially, again, if we could keep our bubble a little looser, but be much more strict and firm about those, you know, the enforcement of those parameters, we're going to find that he gets it easier, and then we could tighten it up so much faster after that. You know, I think a lot of people, just in general, like they chase perfection so much with some of this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, God, like they stopped and it's like the dog sat, but this dog sat like crooked. And it's like they're like correcting them and moving them and stuff like that. And I'm always telling, not just owners, but like I work with a lot of new trainers, you know, and I'm constantly telling them, like, we're not training competition dogs. You know what I mean? Like, we're training pet dogs. We need for them to do a select couple of things really well, but not like crazy perfect. You know?
No, and I'm a bit of like a OCD, like perfectionist person myself in general. So that's even when I was with Matt still, I was like telling him about him. He's always a step ahead of me. I was like, it kills me, but like, am I being too hard on him? And he's like, right now you are. Like, it's okay. We'll tighten it up eventually.
Now here's the thing, right? Like if you're feeling like a lot of times when like you're the stage you were at before, where you're like he's constantly a step ahead. The dog is probably not doing something correctly. Like, 'cause he's a step ahead and you're constantly needing to get him back. Where right now, like, sure, maybe he's a step ahead, but it's not bothering you. You know what I mean? It's not like he's tripping me or anything like that, you know?
And it has continued to get
So you're not wrong to think that, right? Like, I want to be a perfectionist about the standards I hold the dog to. I'm just telling people sometimes to lower the standards a little bit. You know what I mean? But this is great. He's doing really good. And we understand that if we catch this stuff earlier and more firm, right, then we avoid all the headache later on. Where understandably, you know, as dog owners, we're not doing it constantly with dogs. We're trying to avoid giving the dog bigger corrections. You know what I mean? But when we do that, we wind up just making ourselves need to do it more.
Delay the inevitable.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, will you so it sounds like what you're saying too is like, because I think the first week or like on an 8 to 10, you get them used to like what this feels like. But like going forward now, is everything going to be at a correction level?
No. So each time we add the e-collar into a new command, we go back to introducing it to that command and then increasing to a correction level. And listen, you may find sometimes you take them out and you're still at a 10. You know what I mean? Maybe 10 is enough, right?
Again, if I only have to correct it once,
exactly.
10, good enough.
Like even my dogs, like they vary like with their level all the time. I mean, there's times where they're in a more sensitive state of mind or something and you don't need that much. And there's times where the thing needs to just be totally cranked, you know?
Depending on distraction level.
All sorts of things. Or just they woke up in a weird mood that day, you know? There literally are some cases where dogs just like wake up a little more defiant.
And like, in terms of like the incremental levels that you do, like, are you generally going up 5 at a time, 10 at a time?
Good question. Generally, it's like 5 to 10, you know? But like I said, I don't even really look at it. So in my mind, this sounds so stupid, I think big turn, little turn, right? So like, if the dog it was just a little too low, I'll make a little turn. If it's like they didn't really respond at all, I'll just do a big turn, right?
Now that does actually help.
And I find that like the little turn generally is about 5, the big turn is like 10 to 15.